If you ask yourself, why am I here? What is my purpose? How can I fulfill my potential? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Lifestyle, Relationships, and Career Human Design Podcast. I'm your host, Vanessa Naja from vanessanaja.com. My mission is to help you be on purpose and fulfill your potential by aligning in body, mind, and spirit so you can feel empowered, joyful, connected, and free. I'm so excited to share with you how to do that through human design. If it feels aligned, I'd love it if you subscribe and share. Now let's get to the episode. It's always a good idea to have your human design chart with you when listening. You can get yours for free at my website, vanessanaja.com/free chart. Link is in the show notes. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of the Lifestyle, Relationship, and Career Human Design Podcast. And today we are going to talk about one of my favorite things in human design because it is super practical and it is something that you can start to apply right away as soon as you learn about it. And that is your inner authority, also known as your decision-making strategy. And this is how you are designed to make the best possible decisions. And since life as we know it, where you are today, is some result of all the decisions that you have made, this is really impactful once you start to apply it in your life. And there are several different decision-making strategies. Some are specific to types and many are not. And we're going to just do an overview of all of them today. And I will be diving deeper into them in future episodes because this is really important to know and understand and learn how to use in your life. I do want to give a little caveat. Everybody experiences their own design in their own unique way. So there is never that one size fits all strategy. So you may have a certain decision-making strategy and you get to experiment with how that shows up for you, how you personally experience it. Even somebody that has the same decision-making strategy as you is going to experience it differently than you might. So really just feel into what it is, what that experience is for you. So I want you to take a minute or so and think about some of the best possible decisions that you have made in your life. And just kind of get a feeling of how you made those decisions. Did you just impulsively, intuitively, in the moment know that something was correct for you and it turns out it absolutely was? Did you have to sleep on it or take your time or feel your way through what the right way was for you? Did you talk to other people about it? Did you seek advice or just reflections back of other people? Just kind of get a sense of how you've made the best possible decisions in your life. And if you want to, you can pause the recording and just really feel your way into that. And then also think about some of the worst decisions that you have made. Those things that really like, ooh, in hindsight, you absolutely would not have done that. And also think about how you made those decisions. Did you listen to yourself? Did you listen to someone else? Did your mind tell you what to do? Even though your body felt like it was not the correct thing, your mind kind of talked you into it. Just kind of get a sense of what that experience was like for you. And then make sure you have your human design chart if you don't know what your authority is, because we will be looking at them just to, make sure you have the right one for you. And we're going to get started with the most common of the authorities, which is called emotional authority. And on your chart, it might say emotional, it might say solar plexus. And if you look at your chart, there's going to be a triangle on the right side of the chart facing left. And if that triangle is colored in on your chart, you have emotional authority. 53% of the population. So even if you don't have emotional authority, knowing about this is really important because you are interacting with people that have this authority all of the time. So you definitely want to know about this. Any type except for the reflector can have emotional authority. And basically what this means is you need to take your time making decisions. You need to sleep on it at least. And we're talking about, the big decisions here, not what you're going to have for lunch, like the bigger stuff in life. You may, if you are in an emotional place, whether that's emotionally high or emotionally low, it is not a good time to make decisions. And if something is presented to you when you are feeling emotionally high, something that's not correct might feel like it's the right thing. And conversely, if something is presented to you when you're emotionally low and it is actually something that is correct for you, it might feel like no, because everything might feel like a no when you're feeling emotionally low. So it's very important to allow yourself to move through your emotional wave, as we call it, the highs and the lows, until you get to a place of emotional clarity. And that clarity is never going to be 100% necessarily, but usually like 75 to 80% is a pretty good place to be emotionally clear about whether something is correct for you or not. And it's a really good idea to get in the habit of letting people know, hey, I need to think about this, or I need to sleep on this. Let me get back to you. And then make your decision when you have reached a point of emotional clarity. There's a lot that I can say about emotional authority, and I am going to do a whole other episode specifically about this because there's so much that goes into it, and it can be, even though it's the most common, it can be one of the more complicated ones to kind of get a handle on because there's so many different ways that you might experience this. So stay tuned for future episodes about emotional authority. The next most common authority is sacral authority. And this is around 33-ish% of the population, and only generators and manifesting generators can have sacral authority. So if you have sacral authority, this means that the square second from the bottom in your chart is colored in, and the triangle on the right side of the chart that faces left is not colored in. That means you definitely have sacral authority, and your chart might also say sacral. And this means this is basically very similar, pretty much the same as your strategy. As a generator or a manifesting generator, things come into your aura and you get these yes/no responses in your body that let you know what's correct for you or not. So if you have sacral authority, that response is your decision. You can make spontaneous decisions in the moment when something comes to you, and that is the correct decision for you. So really, you can listen to your gut in the moment about what decisions are. And then that brings us to splenic authority. And this is around 9.5% of the population. And on your chart, if you do not have the solar plexus, which is the triangle on the right of the chart colored in, and you also don't have the square second from bottom colored in, so both of those need to be white. The triangle on the left side of the chart that faces right will be colored in. And if you have that in your chart, you have splenic authority. And only projectors and manifestors can have splenic authority. And this is very much like your instinctive intuition in the now. It speaks to you through your body sensations, through your intuition, and it may show up for you in very different ways depending on how you're configured. You might hear something, you might just feel something in your body, you might smell if something is right for you or not. There's a lot of different ways that this can show up for you depending on how you're configured, but you will know right in the moment what is right for you or not. You can absolutely make spontaneous decisions. If you start thinking about it, you get in your head, that is not the splenic authority. The spleen lets you know immediately in the moment what is correct for you or not. So you want to be really careful about not for any of your authorities. You don't want to make your decisions from the head and or from your mind, from your brain, because this is where so much of our conditioning lives. And if you get into overthinking your decisions and trying to make rational, logical decisions, that you might end up in situations that are completely wrong for you. And definitely think about when you've done this, because you have, and probably very often you may have done this in your career and possibly also your relationship. So just think about that. Like nobody's meant to make decisions from the mind because it is so conditioned. This is why relying on your authority is one of the most important and practical things you can do in human design. So this brings us now to ego projected authority. This is a very rare authority. Only 0.1% of the population, so 0.01%, have this authority, and it is only projectors. So you would have to be a projector type, and your chart would say probably ego projected, but there are different ways that charts can say this. And the way you'll know for sure is that on your chart, you are going to have the will ego center defined. And that is that little triangle, the smallest triangle on the chart. It's kind of towards the right, but in the middle, not right on the outside. You're going to have that defined, and then also the diamond shape in the middle. So it's the fourth from the top. That's also going to be defined. So if you have those two defined and nothing defined below that, so none of the ones I talked about will be defined or colored in on your chart, then you have ego projected authority. And you have to be a projector. There's also ego manifested. I'll get to that in a second, but just keep it as simple as possible. You're definitely, if you're a projector with the ego and the G center defined and nothing else below that, you could have your head and your ajna and your throat defined as well, but you'll be a projector, ego projected. And this means that so the ego, the will center, definitely is one of those parts of the chart that is really concerned about like having an even energy exchange, getting the things that they really want. And their heart and their will really needs to be in it. So with the ego projected authority, like really, it's important that you talk to yourself about what it is that you're deciding, if it's right for you, if your heart is really in it, if you have the energy for it. That's how you will know what's correct for you. Yeah, that's basically ego projected. Again, this is a very, very small percentage of the population. I actually only know one. I know one ego projected projector, and that's it in my world of the people whose charts I have. Then we have ego manifested authority, which is about 0.5% of the population, and only manifestors can have this authority. So this one is type specific, and this means that their ego, also known as the heart center, the will center, is connected to their throat, and they do not have any of the other definition. They don't have a defined solar plexus. They don't have a defined spleen, but they do have a defined will center. They're very open. So they have a lot of openness in their chart. They're able to take in a lot of energy and information from other people, but their will center is connected to the throat. This can be directly through the channel 2145 or indirectly going through the G center and then going to the throat. And they also, it's the same thing as the ego projected, like they need to know their heart is in it, that like it's something that they really want to do, that the energy exchange is going to be correct for them. And with ego manifested, because it connects to the throat, it's really important for them to actually speak out loud what the decision-making process is. And for any of these authorities, ego projected as well, and any of the ones I'm going to be talking about from here on, it is helpful to have a sounding board, someone that you talk to that you can bounce your decision-making process off of. And this is not looking for advice. You do not need advice from anybody else. You just want to kind of hear your voice reflected back to you as you go through that decision-making process. Then we have self-projected authority. Okay, so again, this one is type specific. Only projectors can have self-projected authority. It's only about 2.5% of the population. And self-projected projectors means that their G center, that triangle that is in the diamond shape in the middle of the body graph. So it's the fourth one from the top, third one from the bottom. That's going to be defined, and it's going to be connected to the throat. And they may have a defined head and ajna as well, but everything else in the chart will be open. So they are very open, and they are able to really take in a lot of energy from other people. When you have a lot of openness in your chart, it's possible to get conditioned by what other people want. So it's extra important to learn and really understand your own authority, your decision-making process. And with self-projected authority, and I actually know several self-projected projectors, I'm very lucky to have them in my life. It's important to speak about the decisions that you're making and to listen to yourself. You're speaking from the heart. What does your voice sound like? What is your tone? What are you saying about this decision? And also, what does it feel like? And the self-projected projectors that I know see that they can usually feel like an expansive feeling in their heart for things that are correct for them, or more of a contraction or maybe nothing at all for things that are incorrect for them. Also, this authority, it can be pretty immediate or it can take some time. So if you do have self-projected authority, just take some time to start experimenting with what that feels like. And again, it can be helpful to soundboard or to even record yourself on your phone, play it back, listen to your voice, see what comes up for you to help you make those decisions. Then we have the mentally projected. So mental projectors, which is only 0.5% of the population, so extremely rare. And the authority might say mental, it might say environmental, it might say no inner authority. But really, if you look at the chart, you will see that the crown head, the highest one might be defined. The ajna, which is the second triangle from the top, will definitely be defined. And the throat might be defined. So of those top 3 shapes in the body graph, at least 2 or all 3 of them will be colored in, and nothing below the throat will be defined. And this is an extremely open type. They're very rare. They're very wise. They're because they have their only real consistent energy is in the head area, they can be really prone to making decisions from their mind. I mean, we all can be, but I think it's even more so for mental projectors. And so for them to make the best decision, it's important to take their time and to contemplate the decision that they're making in different environments over a period of time. So at home, by themselves, maybe in a coffee shop, out in nature, in a bunch of different places over time, to see how this feels to them over time in different environments, because they are going to be around different people and pick up different things. It's really beneficial for them to do this in different environments. And again, it's also really helpful to soundboard off of somebody that they really trust to help them in the decision-making process. And again, this is not because they need advice. It's because they need to hear themselves reflected back as they make those decisions. And then the last authority we have is lunar authority. And only reflectors can have this authority. This is 1% of the population. And it might say on the chart, no inner authority, but you'll know you have lunar authority if you are a reflector and if on your chart, none of the shapes are colored in. So all of the centers are undefined. And the lunar authority, I talk about this in depth in the reflector episode, which is from last week. But really, you want to take your time, ideally 1 lunar cycle, which is 28 days, to move through that decision-making process. And I know if this is the first time you've heard this, that sounds a little unreasonable. Reflectors do have a very special connection with the cycles of the moon, and the way that the moon highlights aspects of their chart through every 28.5-day cycle is very consistent. So as reflectors start to align with what those moon cycles feel like for them during different parts of the month, over that 28-day period, they can get more reliable input about what is right for them. If you're a reflector, definitely listen to last week's episode, because I go more into detail into this, and I also share some experiences from reflectors that I know and how their decision-making operates. So I highly recommend you listen to that for more depth about the lunar authority. So that is it for today. I definitely recommend that you start experimenting with what your authority feels like. For some of you, that's in the moment, those immediate decisions. For others, it's going to take a little bit more time. And you want to be really careful about your mind not getting involved. It's going to want to get involved, especially as you make that decision. It may try to talk you into or out of something, even though whatever it's, trying to help you decide on it's not the mind's business. Remember, that is where your conditioning lives, and you want to make your decisions from your own inner authority. So I thank you so much for listening and watching wherever you are seeing this today or hearing this. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.
If you want to dive deeper, I invite you to get a free human design mini reading report at vanessanaja.com/free mini reading, or book a human design reading with me. Links are in the show notes. That's it for today's episode. I know your time is important, and I'm so grateful you chose to spend it with me. It would mean the world to me if you engage with the episode by liking, subscribing, commenting, and letting me know any questions you have or what else you'd like to learn about. And the absolute best compliment is if you share with someone you think will benefit. It really helps me spread the message. Love and blessings to you.